In this video, I have two bad parenting victims tell their horror experiences from their parents in the spookiest way.
You know when you look back at childhood and you realize certain things weren't just quirky or odd, they were actually dangerous? Yeah, that's where I am now. I'm 27, but this story happened when I was 15. My mom was a single parent. We lived in Bar Harbor, Maine. My dad bailed when I was a baby, and honestly, I didn't care. Mom worked from home. She was a writer, not a famous one, but she wrote these weird horror novellas that she'd self-publish online. The thing is, she wasn't normal. From as early as I can remember, she treated everything like a test, a game. She had this philosophy: fear builds resilience. She used to say that all the time, like a mantra. When I was little, she'd play these weird pranks, like hiding under my bed and grabbing my ankle at night, or slipping fake spiders into my cereal. One time, she put on this old hag mask and waited outside my window at midnight, tapping until I woke up and saw her. I was 6. I used to scream and cry, but she'd just laugh and say, "Come on, Ethan. You gotta toughen up. You can't let fear win." By the time I was 15, I barely reacted to anything. She'd gotten inventive, more twisted. That March, she told me she was working on her masterpiece. She said it was going to be her scariest story yet, and she wanted to test it live. I remember rolling my eyes. I figured she meant another dumb prank. But this one was different. It started small. The night of March 12th, I came home from school and all the lights were off. Total blackout. When I called for her, she whispered back from somewhere in the dark, "The game has begun." I tried to turn on the lights. They were cut. I fumbled with my phone flashlight, but she snatched it from me in the dark. I remember feeling this sudden, sinking dread. That night, I ate cold canned food and slept in my clothes. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her moving through the house, creaking floorboards, quiet breathing near my door. I kept telling myself it was just one of her stupid games. March 13th, things escalated. I woke up to find all the mirrors in the house covered with sheets, every single one. She left me little notes on them. "Don't look at yourself. He's watching." I tried to laugh it off, but my stomach was in knots. She wasn't acting playful anymore. She barely spoke to me that day, just watched. At one point, I caught her standing at the end of the hallway, staring at me, head tilted. I said, "Mom, this isn't funny." She smiled, but not her usual smile. It was tight, strained, almost manic. March 14th, the night I'll never forget. I came home late from school. Practice ran over. As soon as I stepped inside, I knew something was wrong. The house smelled off, like burnt plastic and metal. There were scratches on the walls, deep, jagged ones, like someone had been dragging a knife along the drywall. On the floor, there were little tufts of my own hair. She must have cut them while I slept. Heart pounding, I ran to her room, empty. On her desk was a single note, the final test. Suddenly, I heard the back door slam. I ran downstairs, yelling for her. Nothing. That's when the power came back on. Every light in the house flicked on at once, and she was standing in the kitchen. Her face was pale, lips trembling. She had something behind her back. I inched closer. "Mom," I whispered. She pulled out a kitchen knife. I froze. She whispered, "I have to make you face real fear, Ethan. You need to know what it's like." I can't explain the feeling. My heart was hammering so hard I thought I'd faint. My own mother, the person who was supposed to protect me, was holding a knife, eyes wild, shaking all over. I backed away slowly. My brain screamed at me to run, but I was frozen. She lunged, not at me, at the counter, stabbing downward. I realized she was stabbing a bag of flour she'd set there, as if testing how it felt. That snapped me out of it. I bolted. Out the front door, down the street, barefoot, not looking back. Neighbors called the cops. They found her sitting on the kitchen floor, knife in her lap, sobbing. She was taken for psychiatric evaluation, diagnosed with some kind of late-onset psychotic disorder, brought on by years of untreated issues. She'd been spiraling for months, apparently. I just hadn't seen it. Or maybe I hadn't wanted to. I never went back to that house. I never saw her again. To this day, I can't stand the dark, or mirrors, or the smell of burnt plastic.
I'm 32 now, but I was 15 when it happened. People think bad parenting is just the obvious stuff. Hitting your kid, locking them in rooms, starving them. But sometimes it's more invisible. It's when a parent pulls you into their twisted little world and makes you carry their broken pieces, makes you part of their madness. My dad, David, was a man everyone liked. Charming, funny, a bit rough around the edges, but super charismatic. He raised me on his own after Mom left when I was 6. I used to think we were this badass little duo, me and Dad against the world. He always called me his lucky charm. He'd say, "Samira, as long as you're here, nothing bad can happen to me." At first it sounded sweet, protective, but it wasn't. By the time I was 14, I noticed something was off. Dad didn't go to work anymore. He'd quit his construction job and started doing these shady gigs, cash jobs, sometimes gone for 2 or 3 days. But when he was home, he was clingy, not like a normal dad. He'd come into my room at night, sit on the edge of the bed, and just watch me. Not doing anything inappropriate, but watching, whispering to himself. Sometimes I'd pretend to be asleep, but he'd lean close and whisper, "Samira, stay awake for me, okay? I need you awake." It scared me more than anything else in my life. On August 3rd, 2008, the day everything blew up, we were supposed to go fishing at this old creek on the edge of town. But when I woke up that morning, Dad was pacing the kitchen, muttering. He hadn't shaved in days, eyes red-rimmed, jittery hands. I asked if he was okay, and he snapped, "We're leaving." "Pack your bag, now." I froze. "Leaving where?" He didn't answer, just kept shoving cans of food into a duffel. On the drive out, he was blasting the radio loud, drumming his fingers on the steering wheel. We weren't heading to the creek. We were going way out into the sticks, deep into rural Arkansas. At one point, I worked up the nerve to ask again, "Dad, where are we going?" He looked at me, eyes wide, frantic grin. "Somewhere safe, baby girl. Somewhere they can't get me." I remember my stomach flipping. Who was they? We pulled up to this abandoned house. It looked like it hadn't been lived in for decades. Overgrown weeds, boarded up windows, rusted swing set out back. He grabbed me by the wrist, tugged me inside. The house smelled like rot, moldy carpet, dead mice, the kind of smell that crawls into your hair and clothes. He shoved a chair under the doorknob, locked every window, pulled the curtains shut. I was shaking. "Dad, I don't understand. What's happening?" He crouched down, grabbing both my hands in his. His nails were dirty, his skin cold and clammy. "Listen, Samira, tonight they're coming. The people who want to hurt me, but you're my shield. As long as you're awake and watching, they can't get me." I didn't sleep that night, not because I believed him, but because I was terrified of what he'd do if I closed my eyes. Every time I started to nod off, he'd shake me violently. No, you have to keep your eyes open." At one point, he started whispering to the walls. He sat in the corner, rocking, muttering things like, "They're in the walls," and "The lights, they see through the lights." By morning, I was beyond exhausted. But here's the kicker. Dad turned to me, smiling, and said, "You did it. You kept them away. You saved me." He kissed my forehead and told me we could go home. We never spoke of it again. Not when we pulled into the driveway like nothing happened. Not when the neighbors asked where we'd been. Not even when I asked him, softly, "Dad, who are you running from?" He'd just grin and ruffle my hair. "You don't need to worry, baby girl. You're my protector." When I was 17, Dad had a full psychotic break. He ended up institutionalized, paranoid schizophrenia, undiagnosed for years. The doctors told me he genuinely believed I had some kind of power over the people he thought were chasing him. He saw me as a human charm, a talisman that could ward off his imagined enemies. I don't visit him. Sometimes, though, late at night, when I'm lying in bed and the house creaks or the lights flicker, I get this horrible feeling,